So welcome, Janet. It's a true pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this call and to be interviewed as part of the series that I hold with inspiring people who are healing themselves and who are living a life full of vitality and energy. So it's an absolute honor to have you on board. And one of the things I just want to share with everybody that really inspired me is that not only is Janet a cancer survivor, and she'll tell her story in her own words, but what truly was remarkable that she holds the world record along with her husband Alan for the highest number of consecutive marathons in the world. And whenever I say this to somebody and I said, just guess how many they are, people are like 20, 30, 50. That's the highest number I've ever got. But can you believe that she ran 366 consecutive marathons? So a whole year of running around the periphery of Australia. I cannot even fathom such a feat. So welcome, Janet. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Yes, I guess the story goes that it was some 20 years ago, 25 years ago actually, that I was diagnosed with cancer and told that I only had 6 months to live. So I started to make some very quick decisions to make a change to that diagnosis. And we can go into that a little more later. But basically, a few years after that diagnosis, we were actually living in Canada at the time, and we moved to Australia. And so when we moved to Australia, we sort of came up with this idea to go for a run that would show by example what is possible on a healthy, raw, vegan, conscious lifestyle. And so that's what we did. So we ran all the way around the periphery of Australia, including Tasmania, a marathon every day, at least a marathon distance every day. Sometimes it was a little more because we couldn't find a place to stop. It's quite interesting when you're actually running literally around the country as opposed to just going out and running a marathon on a track. So anyway, so that's what we did, and that was in 2013, for the whole year of 2013. And after doing that run, we decided to start doing, well, a lot of people asked us, well, what are you going to do next? And we thought, that's not enough. Okay, well, we better think of something else. So so then we decided that we'd always liked hiking and, going out in nature. So we just, and at one point in our history, we had been living in Europe, and in particular in France. And so we'd been working there. So we had seen that there's lots of absolutely fantastic trails to go. And I had been going and running on the trails every now and then, but we were working when we were over there. So we always said, well, when we retire, we'll go back and actually walk or hike on these trails. And so the majority of the trails are connected to the ancient pilgrim trails from back in the 13th century, when people would walk on these trails to various different monasteries or for different reasons. And so the pilgrim trails have now all connected. And throughout Europe, you can walk thousands of kilometers on these trails. And they're actual trails. They're mostly, very few actually on the roads, some on little country roads, but they're mostly trails. And some of them are quite challenging, like up in the mountains. And we just, as you mentioned, we just came back from walking up in the mountains in Italy. So we just did 1,100 kilometers, I guess, up in the in the mountains through there. And so since we did the run around Australia, we've been going every year, apart from the 3 years of the COVID time, when we couldn't travel. We've been going over to Europe and doing these walks, and we do about between 1,000 and 2,000 kilometers each time we go. And that's with a backpack and, carrying everything that we have and hiking. And it's, just kind of what we do now instead of running. But I'm still running because I still run a marathon, usually one a year. And so when we go to Europe, Paris being my favorite, we fly into Paris. And so I ran the Paris Marathon this year, so in April, and could see all the excitement that was going on there, ready for the games. It was great. And then we flew down to Italy and did the walk, the next day, started the walk the next day. So, so recovery time for me is pretty much immediate. I recover as it happens. So I can, go and do it again the next day. So, and that's totally due to the lifestyle that we lead with the raw vegan diet for sure, but also a lot of physical activity and exercise, living in nature. So
amazing. So what I wanted to actually ask you is, when were you diagnosed and how long did it take you to heal, and what was your journey like at that time?
Okay, so it was in the year 2000. And when I was diagnosed, they said that the cancer was so far advanced and it was what they called aggressive, that really, in their opinion, I only had about 6 months to live. So they offered me all kinds of the usual treatment, and that idea was to give me another 6 months on top of the 6 months that they'd said, so a year, but that would give me 6 months of being sick from the treatment, which didn't make sense to me. So I opted out of that and went and did a more holistic approach, and just basically doing everything I could to help the body help itself to reverse the situation. And within that 6 months that I had to, that they said I had to live, completely cleared the cancer altogether. So then
within 6 months, you cleared all cancer from your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
there are a few people in the audience who have similar diagnoses to yours. And was it, what kind of cancer was it? Where was it in your body?
Yeah, it was breast cancer.
Breast cancer. So there are a few people in the audience who have similar issues and diagnoses. So what do you think was the key to your success in those 6 months? Because at that time you were not really, were you into health? Were you vegan at that time? Like, what was it? Were you raw at that time? What was your diet and your lifestyle before? And what changes did you make that you got within 6 months, you were cleared of it was a level 3 or 4, right? Grade cancer. Yeah.
Yep.
Which was it? 3, 4?
Well, it was verging on 4.
Stage 4, nearly stage 4. Okay. So please tell us your journey of how you did it, because there are people who would love to obviously be able to help themselves come out of it.
So I had been vegetarian from about when I was about 5 years old, I guess, when I found out where the meat and stuff came from. And I didn't like that idea, so I stopped eating meat. But I was still having like yogurt and things like that. So I didn't go vegan until, I guess it was about 40 years ago. So when we were living in France and working over there, and actually I was pretty much only having yogurt by then as so far as an animal product, and and they came up with, in France then you could get soy yogurt, so I started having that instead, and that was about when I went vegan. So I was actually vegan when I was diagnosed, and had been vegetarian pretty much most of my life. So I basically had a pretty healthy diet, and I'd had a pretty healthy physical lifestyle as well growing up. I'm originally from New Zealand, and growing up in New Zealand, we do a lot of physical activity, especially at schools and so on. So I'd had a pretty healthy lifestyle. So I think that was a pretty good start from when I was diagnosed. I also had a relatively good history of being relatively healthy. So, and I'd never had a cold or a flu or anything like that. I still haven't. So I'd never been sick per se. So I just went for the big C instead. Oh, well, I'll just get, why not just have cancer instead? So anyway, it was a huge shock, because I thought I was, pretty living a healthy lifestyle as it was. But I realized that I could take it one step further. So with the food side of it, I thought, well, if my body needs a lot of nutrients, like the most amount of nutrients I can possibly get, would be to, first of all, not do anything to the food, just eat it the way it comes from nature. So that's raw and plant-based. And so I just stopped cooking the food. So then I was no longer vegan, I was raw vegan. And I've progressed from being raw vegan to as in eating lots of vegetables and fruit as well, but being more a higher percentage of fruit now than vegetables. The main vegetables I have is greens. We grow all our own greens, so I have a lot of greens, and that's basically for the protein and I always smile when I talk about protein because it's such a myth. Anyway, so yeah, because I'm active with running and training for marathons, I just keep that level of proteins, plant-based proteins up high.
Through
With
the
vegetables,
through the greens.
Through the greens, yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I mean, you get protein from a lot of fruits as well, but
of course,
maybe not as much as you can get from the greens, just in terms of actual amounts. Okay. So that you can actually eat, so that's another reason why also I did a lot of juicing straight away when I was diagnosed, so that I could actually have more of the nutrients through juicing than you would
vegetable juicing or fruit juicing as well.
Mainly vegetable, mainly carrot, actually, just to get the provitamin A to give, for the immune system, to help it to do what it's designed to do. So it's impossible to eat the amount of carrots that I was drinking. Believe me, it was like a truckload a week. So I turned orange, actually, like, my skin went orange with it, but it doesn't matter. So that all seemed to work. I did a therapy, like holistic therapy, with my holistic practitioner. So he's a naturopathic physician, and he came up with a plan of action for me to have intravenous nutrients as well. So I did do that for about 3 months, 5 days a week. So having that, and it just depended each day how the bloodstream was going as to how long it took, but it was usually about anywhere between 2 and 3 hours a day. And I also had I did oxygenation. So basically taking my own blood, putting it through an ozone machine, so putting oxygen into the blood, and taking it back again. So increasing the oxygen in the bloodstream, because cancer basically can't survive in a fully oxygenated environment. The other way I also increased the oxygen was to keep running. So and having lots of greens as well to get, the chlorophyll and so on. So
So when you say greens, you mean leafy green vegetables?
yeah,
Is like
leafy greens.
spinach and kale and arugula and whatever
Yeah,
greens are available.
yeah. The darker green, the better.
The darker,
So
the better. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So and I've, once I got the clean bill of health, along with the interesting comments from the doctors, that who some of them even said, oh, well, it must have been a misdiagnosis. You couldn't have done it with food. I said, you'd rather discredit yourself than actually
Yes.
say, tell us what you did. But anyway.
It's very interesting that you say that,
is.
Janet,
I
because
know.
I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2007, and I made changes and all that. And I
Yeah.
found a paper by Dr. Joel Furman, which was about autoimmune conditions and food and, vegan diets and all of that. And I took it to my doctor thinking that, he'll be happy that I've brought him something, because he saw that I was making changes and my medicines were being reduced. So I said, would you like what I'm doing? He said, yeah, sure, you can share it with me. So I took him a paper, it was about this thick, written by another MD. It was not me saying that. It was written by, I said, this is what I've been doing. And he looks at it cursorily and he threw it across the table at me. And I said, what happened? And he said, I don't know what goes wrong with I'm like, it's written by a doctor, another MD like you. He said, yeah, I don't know what happens to them. Some of these doctors go cuckoo, all of this is not going to work. You just do what you're doing and eat your medicines. That's all that's going to help you. Like, so close-minded. I totally get you when you say, you would have
Well,
thought he's like delighted. Wow, you
well,
reversed your
one,
cancer on
yeah,
this.
I know. I did have one, like, one of the oncologists actually that was on my case. She basically said that she couldn't make any of those kind of changes to what she's recommending because it's her career. She said, I spent however many years it was, she said, to get to this stage of my career, and I'm 40 something or whatever. I can't turn around and start doing something different. And I said, well, you only have one life. Why not? I mean, whatever the next life is, wherever it is, you don't have a say in that right now. So why not, do something right during this time? And she couldn't do it. She just couldn't get that. So it's about money.
Yeah,
Really, it
it's
comes
about
down.
money, and it's also about a system, and they're caught in that system. Like even my doctor, I don't really hold it against him, but basically he had practiced this just like your doctor for 20, 25 years.
Yeah,
And it would basically mean that whatever he had learned was not
yeah,
up to the par, and there was something that was even more superior and simpler.
yeah.
Simply changing your
Exactly.
diet, changing
Yeah,
your lifestyle, little bit of your thoughts and, emotions, and you
I had
can heal. And that is something very threatening to doctors who've got their degrees and their education and their reputation built on, being able to diagnose and
yeah,
prescribe pharmaceuticals. So
exactly. Yeah,
it's a system. I don't think it's possible to break it, but I think it is possible to walk away from it and make
absolutely.
them
Yeah,
redundant. And that's the journey I'm on, to make
exactly.
the medical system redundant by
Yeah,
just creating enough people, inspiring enough people who can heal
yeah,
themselves using
yeah.
holistic methods.
I mean, we
So,
have it. We have it in our own control. Like if we take control of our own health by making the right choices, we can put ourselves in a place where we don't need the doctors. Unless you have a situation where you have an accident and
right.
you know, and it's great if someone can
Yeah.
fix your leg, whatever you've broken, but
Yes.
it's not necessary to have, you know, to when you can take control of your own health yourself. And like you said, it's so simple and easy to do. And the more you do it, especially if you start with the diet, like, well, with the food, if you start with eating the right food from the way it comes from nature, your body immediately responds to that. And then what do you know, if you're not feeling better, you've got more energy, you're able to make better decisions, your mind is clearer. We had so many people when we after after I sort of was in the clear, we opened up a health center where we were at the time in Canada, and we had people coming on health programs due to my experience and just sharing that with them. And so many people were just, they were just amazed at the difference. Like within, pretty much everybody said within 5 days they had clarity of mind, they could make decisions a lot easier. And that was just changing the food. They hadn't even got into doing anything else in there, you know. So the more you go in that direction, giving your body what it needs to what it's, you know, what it's designed to do to keep you as healthy as possible. I mean, it's working 24 hours a day trying to keep you healthy. So, you know, give it a hand. You know,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
anyway,
So
so yeah.
So some people are very keen to know because we asked for questions and some people have submitted questions. They want to know exactly what you ate during that period. What was your breakfast? What was your snacks, lunch, beverages, everything. So could you walk us through a day in the life of Janet when she was self-healing?
Oh wow. Okay. Back then, well, it was progressive, of course. So because I was already vegan, I uh, I just stopped cooking anything. So I became raw vegan, which meant, and also I started juicing. So right in the very beginning, I started juicing so that, like I said before, getting more of the nutrients by drinking it than by eating it. So I was juicing about 4 or 5 times a day. And of course, I was also having this intravenous, and that was basically just more nutrients, really, and the oxygenate. And then for a meal back then, I was, apart from having the juice, I was just having fruit, whatever fruit was available. We were in Canada, so it was mainly oranges and bananas and apples. You know, there wasn't a great variety like there is here in Australia. So, so during that time, I was just basically living on juice. And wheatgrass was a big thing. I did, I did have wheatgrass every day, 2 to 4 ounces, not all at once, but throughout the day. And that was to just get that real shot of pure protein, and it's completely alkaline. So the whole idea, like a lot of people don't realize that our pH, the, you know, like the human pH of the human body, I should say, is 80% alkaline and 20% acid. So if what you're eating, it should be at least 80% alkaline. So the only food that is alkaline is plant-based. Everything else is acidic, and pretty much everything that's been cooked is acidic as well.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I've also read, that anything that is cooked immediately turns acidic.
yeah,
So when you eat it, it's acid in your body straight away.
yeah,
I've read
and
that
so
as well,
yeah, and
which is pretty
so
astonishing given that the whole world is eating cooked food.
I know. Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much, you know, obviously a high percentage of the world is
Mhm.
it is in a state of, you know, an acidic state, and that's why such a high percentage of the world is sick.
Yeah,
Because
so many
if we were
diseases.
alkaline, if everybody was alkaline, nobody would be sick. And
Yeah.
so, so apart from me being diagnosed with cancer, I haven't been sick my whole life, except when I was, I think, around about 3, I think I had the measles. And
That's
I've never been
amazing.
sick. So since I had the diagnosis, I have been extremely well and got more so, and my physical performance level has gone higher as I get older. So there's another interesting thing. So the food that I was eating back then, the original question, back during the healing process, was mainly juicing. So I did have the wheatgrass juice on top of the other juices. And then if I really wanted to actually eat something, it would probably be an apple, or, yeah, that was pretty much it. But once I'd got through that 6 months, then I started having more actual food, but it was always vegan, mainly salads, fruit for breakfast. So what I have now, and what I have been having for the past, I don't know, 20 years,
Yeah,
since
that's
then.
very important as well, because it's not just about getting an all clear. It's also
No,
about not getting it back again, because people have a remission, So it's
yeah,
equally important to know how you have maintained it and what your diet is currently.
that's right. So what it is currently, basically, I only eat twice a day. So in the morning, usually do some exercise of some form. So if I'm training for a marathon, I go out for a run, or if we're into hiking at the time, I'll go for a walk or do some exercise on our exercise machines, and then have breakfast. And breakfast, we alternate. We're very blessed to be living in a place where we have access to all kinds of fruit, and a lot of it we grow ourselves, but the rest of it we get locally grown anyway. We're in a subtropical area, so we have fruit. So one day we will have lots of fruit. We might make a fruit salad of all the fruit that needs to be used, or we just eat one particular fruit that we feel like. And then the next day we make a green smoothie. So we alternate with fruit one morning and a green smoothie the next morning. A green smoothie is only called that because we put greens add it to fruit and blend it up. So, and that's what we have for breakfast. If we've been physically working and need something to snack on during the day, we'll just have fruit. So usually some mandarins, if it's the season, or oranges, something like that, something that's juicy. And then in the evening, or the early evening, usually around between 4 and 5, we'll either make a salad, and it all depends on what needs to be used out of the garden, really, to be honest. So we'll either make a mixed salad of lots of greens and whatever else we've got growing. We've got all the savory fruits like tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchinis. Anything with a seed in it is basically a fruit. So that we might, whatever needs using, we'll throw it in and have a salad. And we make, if we're going to make a dressing for the salad, it would just be limes or lemons from the tree with some avocado, maybe, if you want it creamy. Otherwise, just the juice. Or if we've got a lot of fruit, like at the moment, we've got a lot of pawpaw papaya coming on the trees, like big, huge papayas. So we'll just eat one of those. If we've got half a dozen of them all ripe and there's more coming, then we'll eat those. And so sometimes it goes by the season as to what we're eating, a lot of. When we lived further north, up where Anne, you were talking to last time, where she lives, there was just down the road a persimmon orchard, and lots of other orchards that were growing specific types of fruit. So during that season, that's what we would eat, just what was in season at the time, and locally grown, if not grown by ourselves. And that's it. That's what we eat. When we ran around Australia, we had to eat a lot more than when just in our normal daily life. So we were having to eat basically constantly, except for while we were running. So we would start the day, we'd have a smoothie or a juice before we'd take off and start running. And then after we'd got to about 10 kilometers, our crew would catch us up, and they will have made a smoothie or have some fruit, and we would have more fruit, bananas maybe, or like we were having 10 to 20 bananas a day each. And then the same with the oranges. And then at the end of the run, they would have made, a huge big salad, lots of greens and more fruit. So it did depend on where we were in Australia, because it's a very big country and it covers a lot of different climates. So when we were up north and it was very, very hot, it was very hard. It's very hard up there in a certain area up there. It's literally desert. So they're not growing a lot of tropical juicy fruits. So we had to, our food changed to a lot of more like, instead of salads, they were more like coleslaw, cabbage, carrot, apples, things that would keep without going off, because we would be running for days and days and not see a shop or anywhere to get any food. So it was a matter of keeping the food, in the vehicle. So it did change as we ran around Australia, but basically we were probably 80 to 90% fruit all the way around, running a marathon a day, every day, in all climates and all conditions. So, and barefoot shoes.
Wow.
So
when you ran these 366 consecutive marathons, you were primarily fueled by fruit, 80
absolutely.
to 90%. That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
Because that has a lot of calories, right? Which you needed because you were burning so many, every day.
Yeah,
Okay.
about 4,000 to 5,000 a day. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to go back to that period when you were healing, one other question that we had was, how did you notice or observe that you were getting better? Like, what were the signs? If someone starts doing this, and how can they know that they are getting better?
Well, I was again blessed to have the support of my naturopathic physician. So in Canada, where I was at the time, it was possible through the medical system, where your normal regular doctors are, to get all kinds of tests to see where your tumor markers are and that type of thing. But they weren't very good. Like they didn't give you a lot of information. So the naturopathic physician, he was able to get a lot more from doing blood tests. So I had regular blood tests through him to just see exactly what was happening. And sometimes it was going up, and we'd go like, well, what's happening? And then it would go down. But it was a bit of a roller coaster ride, because it would do that, actually, just sort of, start to go down, and I'm getting, yes, we're beating it, and then it would come back up again. And it did that a few times, and then eventually it just started on that upward climb, and we were out of, we were good. So I was, blessed to be able to do that. However, in Canada, that's not covered, so it cost. We had to pay for it. But when we realized that we couldn't get, like on the free health, we couldn't get what we wanted in the way of holistic help, that we would just have to come up with a plan. And so we basically took out another mortgage and on our property, and because we realized, or I realized, that I'm worth it. Like, what else am I going to spend the money on if in 6 months I'm going to die anyway by doing nothing, or by doing what I was told to do, what was suggested in the way of that I felt was going to make it worse. So that's what I did. And here in Australia, the medical system is pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same everywhere. I don't think there is anywhere in the world that covers alternative treatment by insurance.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
But I think it's possible that the more of us that, spread the word that it's actually, in the end, it's cheaper this way. Like,
Yes.
although it costs me a lot to get what I needed at the time, it's cost me nothing since.
Wow.
So, like, I haven't had any doctor's bills, or I don't have to buy prescriptions for this pill or that pill. And, like, I'm 75. So I know a lot of people the same age, and that they've all got this arsenal of prescription drugs that are not covered by the health system, but are recommended by the health system for whatever their ailments happen to be. And so it's costing them a lot of money, whereas it could be, they could be healthy for free.
So did you just say you're 75 right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So when you ran the marathons, you were 65?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought you were in your 60s.
60s.
Wow. You're 75.
Yeah.
And you just ran the Paris Marathon earlier this year.
Yes. And I came third in my category too, by the way. There's 80,000 runners. And so
Can we all come on video and give her a big round of applause?
Oh, that's funny. But it was an improvement, because last year I ran the Paris Marathon also, and I was 10th. This year I was third. So
as you're aging, maybe next year you'll be first.
Exactly. I'm working on it.
That is mind-blowing. Please type some comments in the chat if your mind is blown, because mine is completely blown. I mean, you are setting up, like, people have couple goals. I have aging goals. And my aging goals are Janette.
Oh, that's too funny.
I want to be at least half or 1/4 of what Janette is. Even 1/10 will be good enough, isn't it?
Oh, that's
wow,
funny.
that's incredible. Oh, I can't get over it. You're 75?
Yeah. The thing is that if you, like, you basically get younger as you age with this, especially with this diet, but also, with making the conscious lifestyle choices along with it as well. You definitely get, because I've noticed it in the beginning when we first changed over from being vegan to raw vegan. We noticed things very, very obviously and very quickly. And then we thought, oh, well, that's it. That's great. And then a year would go by and we'd start to notice that there were other things that we could do, or how we felt was better than before as well. So what's happening is that it's getting better all the time. And we have no idea the potential that we have, really. So that's why I keep going and running another marathon, just to find out. Because the way it seems to me is that we're getting more physically fit, more healthy as the years go by. So it's kind of exciting, really. Like,
you're redefining aging, Janette, for all of us.
Absolutely. Well, we have no idea because we haven't been there yet. We, as a even human species, right? We just have no idea the potential we have. And it's not just physically, I mean, basically, I feel from my experience that we can do anything we want. As a human being, we could literally physically do anything we want. And just this last week, I don't know if you've been able to see some of what's been happening in Paris with the Olympics, but what people have been able to achieve, still achieving. And it's just, imagine if they were all vegan. So far, I think there was only about 20 of them vegan, but hey, they were getting golds. So we just have no idea the potential that we have. But if we start making those choices and we continue, like you were saying before, it's, you can have a diagnosis, you can make the changes, you can see the difference, but you don't stop. You keep on doing what worked. Why would you change back? Why would you, when something works really well? So we've made this discovery, which is really very exciting, that we just have so much potential. We have anything. We can do anything we want. We're actually starting to run out of ideas of what we should do next, but we'll come up with something.
Oh my word. And your husband joined you on this raw vegan path as well, Alan. I actually met Janette through Alan. I
Yeah.
connected with him on a Facebook group and he told me about Janette and I instantly started following her. So he's also raw vegan, and did he have any health issues, and how was it? How was it for him?
Well, in his own words, he was fat, sick, and nearly dead
Oh, really?
at one point in his life. But when I was diagnosed, he wanted to support in whatever way he could the choices that I was making, and so he went raw vegan as well at the same time. And he was already vegetarian, I guess, the majority. He might have had, well, you see, 10 years before that, not, yeah, 10 years before we ran around Australia, but a year before I was diagnosed, we actually ran the length of New Zealand. And it was only because we wanted to go down and visit New Zealand, because we'd not lived there for so long. We looked into hiring vans and things, and we thought, why don't we just run it? It's like and it happened to be my 50th year. So I said, well, let's have a look. And I figured it out that the distance of, if you ran from north to south New Zealand, the length of New Zealand, it was about 50 marathons. So I said, okay, well, let's go and run a marathon a day. So we ran 50 marathons in 50 days, the length of New Zealand. And Alan was still, I think we were both vegan, except Alan was eating fish. So he would have some fish and chips. But we were both running, and we were finding it quite difficult each day to get up and do it again. And so we cut out Alan cut out the fish and so on, and we started to cut out a few things. Our son was our crew, and he just started making some rice and lots of vegetables, but they were cooked. And so that's what we did that run on. And it was hard. It was difficult to do. It was 50 marathons in a row, consecutive. 11 years after that, when we ran around Australia, we no longer had problems. Every day was like we hadn't run one yet.
Oh my God. And you were 65 and Alan was what age?
68, yeah. I was 64 to 65 and he was 68 to 69. He's 4 years older.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were running together all the way. So, and the other thing is interesting. You know how people say that, oh, it's different for different people and it's different for your blood type and everything else. It absolutely isn't. He is, his blood type is the most, what most people are.
O, B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm AB negative. So I'm like that far away. Like he's here. I'm like so far away. It's ridiculous. We do exactly the same thing. We eat the same food. We're in the same environment, everything. And we get the same result.
Actually, that was my next question. Do you recommend this for everyone? Is there anyone for whom it may not work?
No, no. I'm absolutely convinced that, because, like I said, there's an example right there. We couldn't be more further apart in a blood type, for instance. And we've come from different backgrounds and also from the health point of view. So he had, well, like he said, he was fat, sick, and nearly dead, but he used to eat all the wrong food, basically what we would call now all the wrong food, did all the wrong things. And then, but it was a good thing it was good looking, because otherwise I would never have gone. So we get on really well.
Excellent.
But
So refreshing to see that.
yeah. So when I was diagnosed, he just went like, well, you know, it's your decision, your life, your choice, and so I will support you in whatever choice you're making, and I'll come along with you on that same road. So that, you know, that was a huge blessing, because I know that a lot of people don't have that support. I had the support from the rest of my family, in that if they didn't agree with what I was choosing to do, they just basically didn't say anything. So they didn't say, "Oh, you should do the right thing, or do whatever." So they were supportive from some point of view, in that they felt that whatever choice I was making was. And then obviously, as time went on, it became obvious that what I chose to do was working. So, you know, there's nothing like showing by example what is, or leading by example what actually works. So yeah,
So another question, which is, what is your fitness regimen when you're not running marathons?
you mean before I was
No, like now when
42?
you're, at base and you're not running a marathon, how do you stay fit? What do you do every day to stay in that level of fitness? Because you're planning to go back and run the Paris Marathon again, maybe other marathons as well. So
Yeah,
how do
maybe.
you stay fit between runs?
Okay, so every day, well, at least 3 days a week, I do yoga. Like, we actually have a local people here that we all gather together and do yoga 3 times a week. The other days, I'll either be going for a walk or a hike, or if I'm in training for a marathon, then that's very specific, the training regimen. So I'll be doing that. So we do that first thing in the morning before we eat breakfast. And then during the day, we're physically active on our property, because we've got a 5-acre property, and we grow vegetables and fruit and so on. And so I'm out gardening. And then we also have some exercise equipment that we use, usually before we finish up for the day. So we have an inversion machine, which tips you upside down. So you can either do handstands, or you can use an inversion machine, so that you're reversing all the pull of gravity that we have on our bodies for the majority of the time. And so we use that. We have weights, which we use, and I have a machine that was invented by a good friend of ours over in America, and is now being used by a lot of the physiotherapists over there, where it's called a core pump, and it works like if you were using weights and you're lifting like this, you're not actually putting any strain coming down. But with the core pump, it's hydraulic, and so when you're going up, you're pushing, and when you're coming down, it's also pushing. So as a runner, you basically don't get any core work. You know, you're not working your core. You got great legs, but apart from that, the rest of your body needs some work. So that's we use that, and I skip. And I also have a twist machine, so you're going twisting this way and that way. And that's pretty much it, what we do and we're hiking. So twice a week, we go on a hike. So we live in an area where there's some fantastic national parks with lots of really really lovely hiking trails, and we go hiking with our hiking groups, and so they're usually about 15 up to about 15 or 20k for a hike usually up in the mountains.
Lovely. Wow.
Yeah. And then when we go on these hikes in Europe, of course, we're doing between 20 and 30k a day, walking with the pack on, and hiking in some cases up and down the mountains. So for that training, on the days I'm not running, I'm hiking. Mm-hmm. So basically, we're active all the time.
Super active lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're saving all that time from cooking and shopping and, thinking about how to make things tasty. And you're using all that time and being active. That's really amazing, remarkable. So you said you grow your own food. How important is it to have organic food? Because some of us have access, but some of us don't. And mostly it's quite expensive. So what would you say about that?
Well, I think it's really important that the food that we eat is grown as naturally as possible, whether you're doing it yourself or you're getting it from someone who's doing it, because a lot of the food is is commercially grown, is sprayed with who knows what. In some cases, there's so many chemicals and things being used, you really can't call it food anymore. Not only that, but it's really toxic for us to be putting in our bodies. So I think it is important that we eat food that is grown, like I say, as naturally as possible. So it doesn't necessarily have to be certified organic, because in some countries, certified organic is decided by a group of people who have decided that for it to be called certified organic, it has to be in line with these regulations. And those regulations are not always what we would do with our own food. So sometimes they allow them, for instance, to spray with a certain spray for some reason or another, but it's still called organic. Or, it might be an insecticide or something that they call organic. So for me, if I'm buying food from the market, I want to know what the practices were of the grower. So and if they don't need to be certified organic for me, so long as their practices are in line with what I would call growing food naturally. So I just ask them. When we go to the market, I ask them, well, now, because we live in an area where we are completely surrounded by local markets, like we're in basically the fruit bowl of Australia. So there's a lot of food grown in this area, and there's cooperative markets twice a week. So now we know these people. We've been to where they grow their food, so we know, the best food to get. But we do try to grow our own as well, as much as possible. So anything we don't grow, or that I know is growing down the road, like I said, when we were living up north where Anne is, if there's an orchard across the road that is growing things organically, then I don't bother growing it myself. We can share share the love, so to speak, because those people are growing it, and we can support them by buying from them rather than trying to, grow. Because actually, we can't grow enough for what we eat.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we've got a lot of bananas, for instance. We grow our own bananas, but we still can't grow enough because we eat a lot of bananas. We've got oranges. We still can't, because we eat a lot of oranges. Like every time we make orange juice, which can be can be every day or every second day, we're using 3 kilograms of oranges. So there's no way that we would have to have a huge orchard, but it's nice to have some that we can pick off the tree, especially when the grandkids come, they can come and pick their own. And we have dragon fruit, like a huge big dragon fruit orchard. We do eat all of those. So it's another case of when you've got a very short season. And so it's like 2, sometimes maybe 3 months of that fruit is growing. So that's what we eat. We're going out and picking a barrow load a day, and that's what we eat all day. So that
So you think organic is important, and it's worth investing in it if we have, access to it.
Yeah. I think the idea of it being organically grown as opposed to certified organically grown, so not, so grown in a way that is
naturally grown with
naturally, yeah,
as limited or no use of chemicals as possible.
yeah, absolutely. I think there's more and more organic growers, and a lot of places that have been growing for a long time that are going over to organic as well. I've actually noticed it today in one of the stores I was in, where like an actual grocery store, where they've, over the last couple of years, they've got locally grown always in there, but they've got locally organic grown, and now they've got signs up saying this farm is going organic. So things are changing.
Yes.
People are asking for more for it, because to me, again, it's like, why would you spend money just because it's cheaper to buy non-organic? Is it in the end cheaper if you're not going to get the nutrients that you wanted, and then you're not going to get the well-being that you're looking for from that food? You're better off to buy the best quality that you possibly can. And also because you're worth it. Like, give yourself 100%, the best you can. Why wouldn't you?
And instead of investing in other things, or spending money on dresses and jewelry and eating out and travel and, hotels and blah, blah, why wouldn't you put the best ingredients inside your body? I'm 100% with you, because it's a matter of priorities at the end of the day. What is your priority? To feel good, to, feel like Janet at 75, or to, just have all this shiny stuff and, all these trappings that society tells us is important, really, which it isn't, because no matter how much money you have and how many possessions you have, you can't be happy if your body is diseased, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So what cost
I think it's very important.
is suffering? What is the cost of suffering for you? For me, it's like you said, if one could buy back health, why wouldn't one take a shot at it? And it's pretty impossible, but if it's just a question of spending a little bit on living healthy, choosing a area where there is less pollution or no pollution or something like that, it's worth it to make those changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no question, really. And like I said, when we were over in Europe, we've been going back and forth for many years. But what I've noticed after the COVID years, when we were able to go back again, so last year, I noticed in the shops that there's a lot more organic available. And this year when we went, we were in Italy for the majority of the time. It's actually cheaper than the non-organic.
Yeah.
There's more of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you
that is
could
incredible.
move to Italy, or you could.
Yeah, but even in our small town where I live, well, it's not that small when you compare it to other places, but because India is a very populous country, as you know. But in our town, which is Gurgaon, where I live, we have 3 weekly organic markets.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
It's incredible. And there are farmers themselves. It's a combination of suppliers who are sort of, aggregating from other farmers. And we have direct farmers as well coming themselves to sell.
Right. Yeah.
So we can talk to them. They even plant stuff we want. They tell us what's coming. I mean, and I've gone and visited some of their farms. Just like you, I was very curious, where is my food coming from? And when you visit the farm, you can see that whether they're using chemicals or not. You just have to educate yourself a little bit, but you can just pick up soil and you will know whether this is living soil or this is soil that has been sprayed with chemicals.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get more interested in our food, because this is something we put into our body and has a critical impact on our health and how we age. Instead of just worrying about health and doctors and insurances, which is not going to be, giving you the vitality that you're looking for.
Exactly.
It's not really health care, it's sick care.
Yeah.
They step in when we are sick.
Yeah.
Healthcare is up to us. It's not
Yes,
up to the doctors. We
absolutely.
have to take responsibility for our own health. So, apart
Absolutely.
from food, Janet, what else do you think is important in terms of lifestyle, emotions, mind, other than food, to be in optimal health?
Yeah. I think the main thing for a person themselves is to eliminate any cause of fear. So fear is the cause of so much anxiety, depression, you name it, all of the stuff on the negative side, it's coming in some form from fear. And I came to the realization about that when I was diagnosed. Because the first thing that happens to you when you get told that you're going to die in 6 months is you're like, whoa, I wasn't kind of planning on that. And it's, you know, most people would be spend most of their lives fearful of dying in any form, when it's something that is going to happen in the end. And if it hasn't happened yet, it's not the end yet, but you need to be not fearful. And so by eating the right foods and making the right lifestyle choices, you no longer have fear. So that's something that I came to the realization not that long ago, that I don't actually fear anything or anyone or any circumstance or any place. I have no fear at all. So then I don't have any, if you don't have fear, you don't worry about things. Like I never worry about whether I'm going to be sick tomorrow or anything, because I'm not. Like because I do all the things that I do in my lifestyle, I don't fear there being a problem in the future for me. So I think that's a big thing, is fear for a lot of people, even though they may not recognize that that's what it is that's causing the issues that they might be experiencing. So the other thing that I
Sorry,
think
can I
is
just make a comment on that before you move on to the next thing? Please remember the next thing. But basically, I just wanted to highlight that I can completely relate to what you're saying, because when you're doing the right things by your body,
Mhm.
you can feel it inside.
Yep.
Like for example, when COVID happened and, I was traveling and people thought it's very risky to travel and all of that. And, people were asking me, have you taken your shots and all that? So I put a picture of a green smoothie and I said, yes, this is my first shot. Then I put a picture of oranges and I said, this is my second shot. This is my
Yep.
booster. And I mean, that particular post went a little bit viral because, like when you're doing the right thing by your body, the fear does go away. I can't say that I'm completely fearless, like where you are at, but I can relate to it because, like, I was speaking to a friend and she was saying, oh, you're thinking about moving there. Please make sure there is a medical facility nearby. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Why would I make sure of that? I want to make sure the air is clean. I want to make sure I have access to good organic food, or I have a little area where I can grow my own, that I'm happy, I can see the sky, the stars. Why would I want to be near a hospital? Because that's not what I'm planning in my head for my.
Mhm.
So, So yeah, what you've said, I think, is very profound. So if somebody is feeling fear because they've gone and met doctors and their family is, scaring the jabizis out of them because they have some chronic diagnosis or they have cancer, how would you say they go about letting go of the fear? What do you think enabled you to become so fearless? I would love to hear that.
Well, I think for sure, getting the diagnosis, like it turns everything around for you to be told that you're going to die, even though like everybody's going to die at some point. Being told that you're actually going to die in 6 months is quite life-changing. But on that point, I would say the one thing that I would say to everybody is don't wait for the diagnosis to figure out to let it be life-changing for you. But it is, and in that moment, I realized that it's just the best thing I could possibly do is walk out of the doctor's clinic and start looking after myself, because I was the first thing that was told to me was fearful, was creating fear. And so it was better for me to just not even go there, not have that fear coming towards me. And I think the whole system that we were talking about before with, the health sickness system is it's all based around fear. And it's so much so that people don't even realize that that's what it's all based on, until the COVID years. Then the people started to notice that there was a lot of fear driven results from that. So then people have started to question things, and that's a good thing. But just not having fear at all is the way to get into that state is to be making your own choices, to be taking care of your own situation. And it's not just about the food and the lifestyle choices that you make every single day. It's also about the environment. So if you're in an environment, like you said before, if you're living in a toxic environment, leave, move. Like we move all the time, not necessarily because where we're at one time, it's not suitable, but there could be somewhere better. So why not take a look? Why not take a look at what you could do better in the way of your environment, or your and being active in the way other things are happening. So say you do live right in the middle of a city and you can't leave for whatever reason at this point in time, there could be something you can do to make things better for your well-being while you're still there, before you move on, because there's always some choice that can be made that will make a difference. And the doctors and everybody in the medical profession are trying to do the best they can with the knowledge that they have. I wouldn't say that they're all bad or anything like that, but and also, like we touched on before, then the knowledge that they have, even if they have come to the realization that there's other ways to do things, they're in a situation that is not really suitable for them to make changes unless they really wanted to do that. So we don't have to rely on somebody else to take care of us necessarily. We're the ones that have been with us for our whole life. Like when I talk to somebody else, I say, like, who's your best friend? Like, you take care of everybody else. So who is it that's your best friend? Oh, my husband, my wife, my kids, my whatever. No, your best friend is you. You take care of your best friend. You love your best friend the most. Give your best friend 100% that you possibly can, and you'll find that you'll get back 100%. And and I'm absolutely sure that that's the key to having no fear, because you then in total control of everything, everything that may, like wherever you find situations you may find yourself in, you can make a decision that is going to be the best decision for you, because you're doing it all the time. Like throughout our lives, every single thing we say, think, do, see, it's a choice. There's a choice. Life is full of choices, and we have to be looking at making the choice that we're going to be happy with the result of in the end. And a lot of people just go along with, with choices that, or they don't make the choice, they just go along with what's going on. Where
That's
we can
beautiful. I would like to actually, I was reminded of a quote by Rumi, which kind of summarizes what you're saying and or highlights it. And he said, why do you, at least it's attributed to Rumi, why do you choose to stay in prison when the door is wide open?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I realized that I was choosing to stay in prison about so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And the door was wide open. Like you're saying, we have infinite choices. It's our choice. And it's like you said, you can move, you can do things differently, you can get away from a toxic environment, because it's not just about how long we live or how long we delay that ultimate moment which we all have to face, but it is about what's happening until then. What is the
Exactly.
quality of our life while we
Mm-hmm.
are alive on the planet? It's not just about pushing that date back. It's about what am I capable of? How am I living? Am I happy? Do I love myself? Am I happy with the environment? Am I living on my own terms? Now, these are questions that we all need to ask. And most of us are adults here, 40, 50, 60 years old. If not now, then when?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think I did spend a lot of time when I first was diagnosed, and during that healing time, with myself. And I think that's very important for a lot of people, especially if they do have a health issue. Spend time with yourself and really get to go within and find the answers for yourself. Whatever the answers are, all within anyway. But most people, especially women, who are so busy caring for everybody else that they don't spend that time by themselves, just literally take, you know, um, half an hour somewhere quiet and just be in that time. And it's surprising what can happen, what can come from that, and what can go from that, such as the fear of so many, so much.
And the
But
discovery of the inner wisdom, and the intuition and the connection to the body that can
mhm,
give you the confidence that you are your own best healer.
absolutely, yeah, there's no question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you like if you had there are a couple of questions I want to ask before we finish, and then we'll allow everyone to, just say thank you and all of that. And if anybody has any question, they can ask that as well, because I've covered most of the questions that were asked. But I want to know, if there's somebody sitting here with a chronic disease and has a diagnosis such as you had, and is on the path and is struggling a little bit internally, what message would you like to give to people who may be losing hope, anxious, and sad, and not being able to see where their health and future is going? What message could you give them?
I think, well, we've pretty much gone over it. Like the main message is to understand and realize that they're worth it. That, you know, whatever they're doing, in whatever positive way that they feel that they're doing to help themselves along with this journey, um, it's going to be the best thing they can do. So doing 100% the best they can possibly do for themselves, or for their very best friend and the person that they've lived with all their lives. It's the only person that you've lived with every moment of your life. So it's just like having to take that time to just it's almost like just stepping back and taking time to, yes, it's okay, I'm doing the best I can, and whatever will be, but I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be helping myself get to where I want to go, and it's okay. And I think one of the things that is very helpful in that is to do some affirmations. So every day, say something affirming to yourself, even like literally stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you, you're my best friend, and I'm going to do the best I can for you today. And this is what I have in mind. This is my plan. And you'll start saying something, and then all of a sudden you go like, well, why don't I actually do this? And things will start coming. It's that voice from within will come. And if you try to affirm every day, you can even literally, if you've kind of feel funny about doing that, you can literally get affirmations. Get a little book of Rumi's affirmations or anything like that that will help you to affirm yourself with the journey that you're on. If you're doing everything you can in the way of nourishing the body and being in the right environment, one of the things we haven't touched on with your lifestyle choices and environmentally is making sure that everything is that you may have in your house or your home or even in your work is not toxic to you. So literally things that like, for instance, I don't use any makeup whatsoever, but if I did, I would make sure I would make sure that it was vegan. In fact, when we were making the film, I did, they said, oh, can we just put some makeup on? And I'm going, okay, just let's do this shoot tomorrow. So I went and actually got some vegan makeup for the eyes, I think. But what I'm saying is be aware, read the labels, and if it's anything toxic in there, just don't go there. I mean, there's a lot more, like we were saying with organic foods as well. There's a lot more available now in the way of cleaning products, cosmetics, anything like that it needs to be non-toxic. A lot of I'm seeing now in labels, because what I buy in the way of food or anything else, even for the house, it doesn't have a label. I don't need to read labels because I don't buy anything like that. But if you're still
like the best food is the one without any ingredients list,
yeah,
for example.
exactly.
Sorry.
But if you're still
Yes,
having to
please
buy
continue.
things, then do read the labels. And if you've never heard of an ingredient, or you don't, or you don't understand what it is, you can't pronounce it, don't buy it. Basically, that's the first thing. I mean, you could spend the time going and looking it up, finding out if it's but you know what? It should be just completely natural. And there's a lot of things now available for that. Like for cleaning products, there's nothing better than, vinegar, lemon juice, anything like that. If, for surfaces, I can, that reminds me of a funny thing when we had, our raw food restaurant in Canada. The health department used to come and check, as they do with all restaurants and so on. And they told us that we had to have ammonia. We had to wipe down the things, the benches with ammonia every time we made something. So we were making 200 juices and smoothies and things in a day. Can you imagine how much ammonia was going to be going on? So we said, no, we'll just use vinegar. And I said, what? You do what? So we had to actually educate them, the local health department, that this is actually, this is what you use if you need to clean it down. However, I did make the point that what we were using in the way of food wasn't a problem anyway. And we never, ever had a problem with, anyone getting food poisoning or anything like that, because there's no animal products on the premises. And anyways, it was kind of interesting, but people now are starting to understand that, keep your environment non-toxic, keep anything that you're using, even breathing. Like, I know a lot of people like to have, for instance, really nice ambience with some candles. Make sure you know what the candles are made of. Sometimes it's not what you want to be in your, breathing. Just little things like that. Using natural products, even incense burners, things like that. Make sure you get them from India. They'll be fine. That's
Not always, not always. There's a lot of toxic stuff
Well,
being
I
sold
suppose
here
that's
as
good.
well.
Yeah, but read the labels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got the, well, a funny one was, when we were in India last, we were in a sort of an ashram place. We weren't there specifically for the ashram, but anyway, we were in there and they were handing out incense, little containers of incense for you to burn when you go home. So it was very, very nice. So I took it and I thought, okay, so how do I read the label? Of course, I couldn't read the label. So I had to get my friend who we were actually showing our film in West Bengal, and he got him to read the label, and he said, "You don't want to be doing this." So okay, I won't. But
Yeah.
there's plenty from there that is very good.
Yeah.
But,
So can you tell people about your book, your film, and how, if they want to reach out to you, do you work with people? What can they access with you?
Which film, please, am I talking about? So it's called Raw, the documentary. And this one is based on our run around Australia. And the reason why we did it, which of course was to show by example what's possible on a raw, vegan, conscious lifestyle. And so it has been translated into 7 different languages, but is in English. And it's in French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish as well. They can get it through my website, rawveganpath.com.
And do you work with people as well? I've put it in the chat for everyone.
Yes, well, we've been doing we've been giving retreats in our home in the various homes we've had over the last few years, for people to come and stay with us. And that's a way of coming and seeing how to put all this into practice in your own home, as opposed to going to a retreat, like say in Bali or somewhere where they have like raw vegan retreats, which is lovely, but it's kind of like a holiday. Do you really go home and do that? So here we show exactly how we live and what we do, and how that can be work in your own home. And then we follow up as well. We're pretty much in touch with everyone that's ever been with us over the years, and they can get in touch with me anytime with various questions and things like that.
Is it through the website? Contact you through the website?
That's the best way. I master the website, so everything will come through to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's one way to be in touch. We actually have a retreat starting again on this Sunday. So they come and they're personalized. So we don't actually put on a retreat on a certain date and you can come and join. Basically, you go on the website and find out what dates are available, and you make your own date to suit. And it's completely personalized. So it could be one person coming by themselves, or it could be a whole family or couples or anything like that. But no one else can join in once they've booked that date. So that way it's really personalized. And I do that because a lot of people do have health issues that, when they come with the health issues, so we can actually, personalize it around that. So the other way, if you can't get over to us in Australia, is to go on the website, and you can obviously get a lot more information about me and Alan on there, and what we've done in our over 50 years together. The book that I wrote based on my journey with cancer is available through the website, and it's called Raw Can Cure Cancer. So that one is available. That's based on my journey with cancer. So I've actually written it as like a novel, but it's based on my true story and true stories from about 60 odd other people who have been on these cancer journey as well. Shortly after I was diagnosed, I was invited to the breast cancer conference that was being held in Canada at the time. And so I did a lot of interviewing while I was there, as well as speaking. But so I've used a lot of those, just so that it covers various different angles, and also for the supporting people. So you might find something with that. What I usually tell people when they contact me through the website and start asking questions is that they read that book first and then ask the questions, because it can change the way, what they're thinking and how that might relate to them. And so, yeah, so that's that one. And the other book is...
If I can just say that I've read that book, and it goes into a lot of detail about the different, the medical diagnosis. I was amazed at the amount of medical information that was in there that you looked at, understood, and then, made really sort of considered choices for your own health. So it's really very, very detailed. So anybody who has a similar diagnosis will, I think, get a lot out of it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, and then they can, look at it from their own point of view as well, having get that information from the book as to how they might want to pursue their own journey that way. So the other book is Running Out of Time. Let's see if that's the picture on your poster. So Running Out of Time is based on the run around Australia, but also how we are in general running out of time if we don't start making the choices that we should be making in life. So there's quite a bit of philosophical works in there that came to me every single day. Something would manifest itself, put it that way, every day that we were running a marathon a day around Australia. So I've included it, and I've done it in a way that it's like a diary of every day that we were running. So for people who are interested from that point of view, there's these various different thoughts, but also anybody that's interested in the physical side of it, and the running, especially the running side of it, it's got all the details about how far we ran and how long and it took and so on. So and what we ate. And there's recipes in there as well from the road. So those are the three things that you can get through the website.
I haven't read that book. I'm looking forward to getting it. Is it available on Amazon?
No.
Okay, I got Raw Can Cure Cancer on Kindle. So I think I got it on Kindle. Yeah.
There's a problem with...
Okay, so I have to order it through your website.
Yeah, it's better because for authors, it's very hard with Amazon. Like our publishers,
I understand.
To them, and basically we get nothing from it. But
yeah, I know because I'm also a published author. We get nothing.
Yeah. So it's much better. You can, and also I'll personally write in it for you, and I send it myself. So through the website if you do that. And with the film, I'm pretty sure that in India it is PAL format, isn't it? PAL format. Yeah.
Here
it is. We've got all the formats anyway for the film. So just have a look on the website as to what there is.
And you can see the trailer on YouTube. It's out there, and some other videos, as well as other conversations with other people. So, you can explore a little bit.
A lot, yeah. If you
Yeah.
actually just Google my name, my
Yeah.
full name, there's I think something like 700,000 hits there. I Googled it the
Enough
other
to
day.
last us a lifetime.
So there's a lot of people who have like the various different talk, like podcasts that we've done and different things like that. They they get taken and someone else will put them up as well because it's very easy to do that. So there's thousands out there, literally. Just go for it anytime.
Okay,
But
I
if
have.
you want to contact me personally, then do it through the website. Yeah.
So I have one final question before we let you go. I know it's a little bit late in Australia, but there are people who start this journey either going vegan or raw vegan or high fruit, but then they get cravings, then there's socializing, then there's pressure, then somebody questions them, then their doctor tells them, "What are you doing?" So, what would you say are the three secrets to success on the raw vegan path, to use the name of your website?
Listen to yourself, not other people. That would be one. Um, yeah. Uh, you see, you mentioned cravings, but the more you go, the more you have of raw vegan food, the less you have of cravings. Like, because when people are not eating raw or even vegan, they can't understand that until they start to do it. So I've had a lot of people who have said, well, I tried that once. Like, in other words, they had an orange or something. I said, it's not, it doesn't work that way. I said, and that was why I mentioned about the 5 days. Within 5 days, you notice clarity of mind. When we had our lifestyle programs in Canada, at the wellness center that we had, um, I said to them, like, okay, just do it for 5 days, and let's see what result you've noticed. And within 5 days, they would suddenly notice it all, and they'd want more. So the further you get into it, the more you do it, the longer you do it, the better it gets, and the easier it gets. So it's not like there's nothing holding you back, basically.
How do you
So
handle social situations, old favorites, restaurants when you go out, when they have nothing on the menu for you? Like, what would be the way? Because this is something that usually makes people get off road, and fall
yeah,
off the track,
yeah.
especially when they are in the transition stage in the beginning. So, what would be your best advice
Um,
for
I think with the social side of it, you just, especially in this day and age, like when I first went raw, it was pretty new. Like, there weren't too many people that even had the concept of it. Um, but now there's so many, everybody's kind of heard of it at least, and certainly heard of veganism in India is not a problem. But I think the big thing is, when you start to take care of yourself, you also become more assertive as to the fact that you're taking care of yourself. So you can actually say to people, well, I'm I'm having raw vegan food now, because you can tell them why or not. It's quite good sometimes to just say, oh, I've got cancer. I can't eat anything but raw vegan. Excuse me. And it's surprising what a chef will do. They just immediately say, oh, yes, we can accommodate that. No problem. Whereas if you go in and say, do you have vegan or raw vegan food? Nah.
we don't have?
Use it. Use it. Tell them.
Use it. Yeah. Another trick that I usually just say, I have a medical condition, and they
Yeah,
respond
good
so
one.
well to that. The other
Yeah.
thing that I've also used is, I'm fasting. You see, in India, there is a certain religious,
Yes.
reverence towards people who are fasting, or towards a particular fasting period. So, either or, use it
Yeah,
to your
that's right.
Advantage. My
You can.
doctor has put me on this diet. That also works. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're your own doctor, but you can use it.
Exactly. And I think too, with going out to restaurants, it's a lot easier today than it used to be. I haven't got any water here. With telling them if you're going to be going out with other people, usually you know who they are, and so you can just say to them, "Oh, can we go to a vegan restaurant? Can we go?" Like, you just tell them that that's the way you eat, and I think most people are pretty good about it. If the issue is actually at home with the rest of the family, you just use this. I've said it so many times. Look, I'm worth it. So I'm actually going to be eating this way. You can sort of say it a little differently with the family, but what we've found over the years anyway is that our friends have changed. So our friendships, I should say, have changed. So we now tend to be with more like-minded people. We tend to communicate with more like-minded people anyway. And yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about a couple of the groups that we actually joined here, the hiking groups, for instance. There may be 2 other people in the 500 odd in membership that are actually vegan. There's nobody raw vegan, but nobody worries. After every hike, they'll say, "Oh, we're going to such and such a place. There's vegan stuff and there's salads."
Yeah.
They tell us straight away, "Oh, yeah, we can accommodate some things." So I think, just put it out there as much as you can, and as nicely as possible. Sometimes make it a bit of humor, and people are pretty good with that, especially these days.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Anything else you would like to give as your sort of closing message before we bring everybody on? I just want to also add that I too work as a holistic health coach. And my mission, as I say, is to spread the knowledge of self-healing from chronic ailments and to make the medical system redundant by in a sense, I don't think they're going to go away in my lifetime, but in a sense that we take the power back. They can be part of our team, but on our terms. And in a way, we force them to have a more integrative approach, a more approach where they actually can do what they're doing. And of course, for emergencies and all, we'll always have them, and thank God for that. But also consider the people who are self-healing, who are freeing themselves from lifelong medications as they have been taught, to start considering them and adding them to the equation, that's the future of medicine as I see it, a more integrated approach. And if you could just give the final message, and I'm also going to allow people to unmute so we can all thank you.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I guess my message to everybody is to take care of yourself first, and then everything else will follow and fall into place. You're 100% worth it, and you're 100% in control of your own health. You just need to choose to do that, and don't wait for the diagnosis.
Thank you so much. And now everyone will get muted, and now everyone is able to unmute themselves. So can we just give a big, I'm just going to remove our spotlights as well. Can everybody come on video? And sorry, removing mine as well. And whoever would like to speak can unmute and say whatever you want to say to Janette for this precious knowledge and information she has shared with us. Please go ahead.
It's very inspiring, and it was really wonderful to know about her, and great listening. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Zarana. Anybody else?
Thank you, Janette. Thank you very much. I've been hearing about you, seeing you on Facebook for the last so many years. But it was such a pleasure to see you in person and hear your story. Amazing. Thank you so much. It's so inspiring and so motivating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. And thank you, Nandini, for bringing this afternoon to us. I just feel not only inspired, but I just feel suddenly that the skies have opened in terms of possibilities, limitless possibilities. They're super inspiring. Thank you.
Welcome.
I would like to thank you, Janet, for everything you have done for us by sharing so much of your knowledge and your time. Thank you, Nandini, for bringing her to us. And I'm reading your book. I'm halfway through that Raw Can Cure Cancer. And it's so amazingly written. So amazingly written. I can't tell you. I have no words for appreciation because it feels inadequate. It's so engrossing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet, for this inspiring. Thank you. This has given us a lead in taking forward our journey on this route. Thank you, Nandini, for bringing her here on this platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Happy Independence Day. And today is my 13th vegan anniversary, and I've never been prouder of being vegan than I am today after listening to Janet, and for spending the last 13 years spreading this message, not only for animals and for compassion, but also human health. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming today, for spending your afternoon over here with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nandini. Thank you.
So much. Thank you so much.